Well, Rachel, I didn't have a rooting interest in either of the teams in the Super Bowl this year. I'm not a Chiefs fan, not a 49ers fan. But I got to tell you, for 49ers fans, that outcome must have felt like a real cross-check to the face.
How many 49ers fans do you think are waking up in more pain than Rielly Greig this morning? Probably a lot of them.
I don't think it's possible to be in more pain than Rielly Greig was in. I mean, he went down like crazy. It was horrible. I don't know. He must have really busted his shoulder, just wiring a slap shot into an empty net, which takes a lot of effort. So I get it.
To go 73 miles an hour.
Exactly. Just crazy stuff.
What did you do for Super Bowl?
I was at my parents' house. My sister came home. She goes to Waterloo. She came home and we had a great time. I made all the food, made homemade fries, made homemade wings, made a homemade queso.
We did not film any of that for the record.
No, sadly we did not. But we will be having Mike's Meals for One coming back, which is great.
What are we making?
We're making a fried chicken sandwich. It'll be great. But this wasn't Mike's Meals for One. This is Mike's Meals for 4. So.
See, I had some people over because I didn't know if I was going to be working or not. I was on call for work. So I may or may not have needed to actually do stuff. So I couldn't really get hammered. Yeah. Until halftime when they were like, okay, like you're good to go. Perfect. Halftime, I got into it. But that kind of made up. It was Chinese New Year this weekend. So we got into a bit. But for Super Bowl, okay. I got to tell you.
Are we allowed to say Super Bowl, or do we have to do like all the ads where they call it
the
big game?
I'm not advertising anything. Yeah. I feel bad for Raiders fans. Specifically my dad. Dad, I feel bad for you. Why do I feel bad?
Why do you feel bad, Rachel?
Because the Raiders haven't won anything in our lifetimes. Similar to the Leafs, right?
And you're 28, I'm 27, gonna be 20 in like a week. Like,
yeah.
We've been alive for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got a new stadium. It's beautiful. I got a tour when I was there. When I was in Vegas for the Cup final, I got a private tour. It was incredible. And
so that's where you snuck off to. Okay.
That is where I snuck off to that day, yes.
No idea where you... Well, I was, I was...
Are you alive? Yes.
I was nearly dead by the end of that, considering it was the conclusion of 3 weeks of travel, but, okay.
So I feel bad for Raiders fans because the Kansas City Chiefs are their divisional rival.
They are.
They are unequivocally now a dynasty. And they solidified that dynasty by winning a Super Bowl on the Raiders field before the Raiders could even win a playoff game on their own field.
Before the Raiders could even make the playoffs in that stadium. I don't think they've made the playoffs since that stadium functioned.
So you have that, and then who hands Patrick Mahomes the Super Bowl? John Elway, the Denver Broncos great. So you've just got like a double whammy there. Why don't you just bring out like Antonio Gates or something like that?
Yeah, just complete the quadfecta, if you will. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for Raiders fans because to have to watch basically the NFL's boogeyman do that's got to be so tough. But at the same time, as much as we talk about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs being a dynasty with like Andy Reid and whatever, absolutely dial it back. He's not better than Tom Brady yet.
Not yet.
He
will be, I think.
I think he will be too, but we're not there yet.
No.
We've got 3 and 6. It's not the same.
Tom Brady won 7.
Or 7, sorry. Yeah, 6 with the Patriots.
6 with the Patriots.
So dynasty with the Chiefs, he's got to win 6.
I would say Tom Brady winning that Super Bowl with Tampa is even more impressive than any of the 6 that he won in New England. Because they wrote him off, man. He was old. Like he was like 40 when he did that. The Patriots didn't want to see him anymore. And usually when you have like a great sign with a new team, it's like, friggin' like Scottie Pippen signing with the Rockets, or it's like
you don't immediately win a championship.
Exactly. And he went in there and he beat Patrick Mahomes to do it.
So and what was interesting is last night on the broadcast they actually asked Patrick about kind of the Brady conversation, and he goes, I will give him a ton of credit. He will say that's always going to be a tough conversation because he beat me in the Super Bowl. And that is a great point. But what I won't stand for is anyone saying any current like active QB is in the same league as Mahomes. He's got 3 Super Bowls. When the chips are down, he gets it done. He's beaten Allen. He's beaten Tua. He's beaten Lamar. He's beaten the 49ers.
Well,
and
this
like,
run,
we're not having a conversation about who's better than Patrick Mahomes right now.
I apologize to the hockey fans because we're just going to talk football for a bit because it's a Super Bowl. So just whatever, skip to like that, I don't know, 20-minute, half an hour mark of the podcast if you want to get hockey talk. But this Super Bowl, specifically this year, was the I would say the crowning achievement of Patrick Mahomes' career so far.
The road to get there, like,
it was the hardest championship road by DVOA in NFL history. This was also supposed to be the year the Chiefs take a step back because they had their wide receivers were either like veterans who were on the periphery or rookies or Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, or Kadarius Toney.
Who is somehow a combination of all of those. And then it just everything was stacked against them, really. And as much as like you have Patrick Mahomes, so nothing is really stacked against you. But like this was the year that they were supposed to take somewhat of a step back.
Warren Sharp's tweet, right? Mm-hmm. This was the year the Chiefs were beatable,
and
they still got it done.
This was the year the Chiefs were beatable.
Anti-Leafs.
Yes, they really are. They were. This was the year the Chiefs were supposed to be the most beatable due to their cap, due to their roster construction, due to the fact that they had just won a Super Bowl, so they had like the least amount of rest out of anybody. All that kind of stuff. And then they also faced the hardest. They also had the least amount of rest in the regular season because they in
weeks
terms
12
of,
to 17.
Yeah,
they were at a
they
rest
went to
disadvantage.
Germany to play.
I know they did.
Man, like anyone who goes to Germany, I don't know, like just someone I don't want to associate with. So
Mike has seen me come back from Germany.
Yeah, it's not fun. And obviously, and you didn't play a football game there.
No, I didn't.
And then on top of that, like there were some serious struggles. Like I remember watching on Christmas Day, they lost to the Aiden O'Connell Raiders at home with Taylor Swift watching.
It was not cute.
That's how you know that the relationship is going to last the test of time, because Travis Kelce dragged her to Kansas City, Missouri on Christmas Day to watch the Aiden McConnell Raiders beat her boyfriend, and she stayed. So good for her. But this is a remarkable performance. Obviously, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are going to get a ton of credit, as they should. Travis Kelce really stepped it up in the second half, as he should.
Can we talk about his first half, second half situation and like the Travis Kelce situation?
We can, but I just want to give a shout out to the Chiefs D. They've been the unsung hero all year.
How about Steve
Spagnuolo giving me a meme that I will use approximately 50 times in the next week. I will, like, it is great.
If you think that's getting used on our Twitter account, it absolutely
bet
is.
Your sweet ass it's getting used on our Twitter account. But the Chiefs, Steve Spagnuolo, he had a plan and basically he out-coached Steve Wilkes on the other sideline.
He's the only coach I read that has won a Super Bowl as both an offensive and defensive coordinator.
It's crazy.
But then I saw someone float out there. What if the Chiefs bring back Eric Bieniemy next year so that their head coach is Andy Reid, Spagnuolo is their defensive coordinator, and Bieniemy is their offensive coordinator? That would be ridiculous.
But why would they? Because
Matt Nagy kind of sucks.
He sucks, but they just won a Super Bowl with him.
But if Bieniemy wants to come back, Patrick Mahomes loves him. Travis Kelce loves him. Like if you can get him to come back, that's basically like assembling the Avengers at that point, because you've got Reid, Spagnuolo, Kelce, who, by the way, after that speech, absolutely not retiring.
Yeah,
he's like, we're coming back for 3. I was like, oh, he said we.
Yeah, I just lost a crisp $20 bill to my sister. I had a bet going with her that he would retire after this season. Lost. And so look, Travis Kelce, horrible first half, screamed at his coach.
That was so funny though.
You know what?
At least he cares. He has the passion.
Look, you can't grab your coach, okay? You just can't do it. No matter how much you want to.
No, you can't.
You know, I've had a lot of coaches that I played for who I want to just shake the shit out of, basically.
But did he grab him to prevent him from falling over?
He might have. But he was like in his ear, like he went up to him. It was pretty nuts. And
he was most angry.
He was like, my girl is here. You're embarrassing me. Give me the ball.
But then he did in the second half, and it worked.
He had 1 catch for 1 yard in the first half. Like, that's as bad as you can get, basically.
And it's Travis Kelce. Like, throw him the ball.
Exactly. And then, surprisingly, they threw the best tight end in the league the ball. And what happened? They won the game.
They won.
Yeah. It could have easily
been. He made some plays.
He did. It's just like the thing about the Chiefs, man, that is just when you watch them play, it's just they they like the meme of like I'm inevitable, like they really are, because every time you get them into a corner, every time they get them into like a 3rd and 9 with like 40 seconds left,
Patrick Mahomes runs for 22 yards.
They pull it out. Every time their back is against the wall, every time they're facing long yardage, every time, like I said, like, it's a 4th and 2 and they don't do tush pushes because Patrick Mahomes got hurt on the last one they did. So they just don't do it anymore, but they find a way. They always do. That's what good teams do. That's what the Leafs have never done, if I want to tie it back into hockey. And it was
Mr. Irrelevant versus Mr. Inevitable.
And you know what?
Like that's just what Patrick Mahomes is at this point. Because
yes, he is.
You look at it, and you knew they needed a field goal to tie. And I was sitting here with friends, and we were kind of like, a minute and 53 seconds is enough for him to score a touchdown.
There was a bit of a sense of like the Niners had wrapped this up, and there's like, you just basically got out of the 2-minute warning and you're up by 3. You're giving Patrick Mahomes the ball. I'm just like, what are you talking about?
You have anything but wrapped
this guy
up.
Ended like the Bills season in 12 seconds, like 2 years ago. Like it's, like this is crazy.
Speaking of the 49ers, they didn't know the rules.
So before we get into that, I want to put to bed any talk here. And I know that one game, is not the be all end all of a player's legacy, but I think we need to put an end to, like, is Brock Purdy a game manager?
Because no, he's an excellent quarterback.
He's an excellent quarterback, but the lights were too bright for him. He is not. Last night he did not perform like last night. You saw, and obviously he's Patrick Mahomes, but you saw the difference between like I would say top 5 quarterback and like and Mahomes is the best, so like a top 1.
I was gonna say you saw the difference between the best quarterback in the league and a top 10,
and maybe like 10th, 11th, 12th ranked. Like, so, seriously,
I think
he didn't extend plays.
Brock Purdy is an excellent. I think in terms of vision, he's actually one of the best in the league. Right? He didn't throw an INT, which, hey, that's solid. I mean,
he threw the same amount of touchdown passes as his wide receiver,
which was wild.
Yeah.
But I also think, like, McCaffrey fumbles that ball. That's kind of weird. Then you have the muffed punt.
Yes.
That's also, like, neither of those things.
You have the blocked extra point.
You have a blocked extra point. That's especially not on Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Right? That changed the game because then the Chiefs needed a touchdown instead of a field goal. We're talking about a totally different. If the Chiefs come down and score a touchdown, I win a correct score bet at plus 100,000. So I would have been over the moon at that point. But when you look at Brock Purdy, I think you bring up a great point. He is not in the class of, no one's in Patrick's class.
Obviously not.
But he's not in Mahomes, Jackson, he's not in Allen, Jackson, Tua.
Like, even Tua is not, like Allen, Jackson, like Justin Herbert before he got hurt, like Jalen Hurts, like he's not in that.
I think he's in that tier below.
He's in the Tuas.
But I also don't think that Jackson and Hurts could run the 49ers offense because of the types of quarterbacks that they are. Like, you can't have Jackson, McCaffrey, Debo all on the same offense. That is not going to work. So I think Brock Purdy is the best quarterback for Kyle Shanahan's system.
I cannot believe we lived in a world where Brock Purdy was the betting favorite to win MVP at a certain point. Like, that's where I looked at the state of the NFL. I'm like, we're cooked, man. Like, if this is the guy who's winning the MVP, like, this is...
I got Jackson at plus 600 when that narrative was floating around because I was like, there is not a chance.
And even still, Lamar Jackson wins the MVP with, like, 24 touchdown passes and, like, 3,600 yards.
Yeah.
Like, I was a Saints fan through most of my childhood. Drew Brees would, like, almost double that, like, in a season.
And not get MVP because Peyton and Brady would
exactly. Like, it's insane. But
Brock Purdy's not a game manager.
He's not a game manager, but he's not a game extender or a game elevator, I want to say. Like, he's just a good QB. But I think you can win with him. Yeah, but you showed last night that, like, if
that's anyone but Mahomes, I think the 49ers win the game.
Yeah, but you also showed that, like, but you know what? At the end of the day, like, he was the last overall pick, like, 2 years ago. Like, they're first round QBs who haven't hit their stride yet or haven't even played.
Zach Wilson would like a word.
Yeah, or haven't even played yet, like, and so we got to give him credit. But yeah, look, man, it goes to overtime, which is, like, incredible. Like that,
I love it.
The Super Bowl going to OT, it's amazing. Now, I don't know how to feel about the fact that the Chiefs had apparently had multiple meetings over the past week about the overtime rules and their strategy if the Super Bowl went to overtime.
That is a championship mindset.
Yes, and the 49ers, most of them admitted freely, they didn't know the rules.
So I look at this, and as somebody who had to pore over the NHL rulebook for her job, hate. So I get it. But at the same time, I can understand if you don't know the extent of the rules in the regular season. In the Super Bowl,
how is there never?
You have to know every rule to the letter, especially when it's something like overtime where there's only like 5 rules that you need to know, and one of them is that you both get the ball.
How is there never like a meeting where they were like, an offensive, just like a passing game meeting, and like I don't know, like Matt Nagy was like, oh, by the way, guys, before you leave, let's just quickly go over some overtime rules just in case we both get the ball.
Not even that.
Let's take it. Let's not defer. It's fine. All right.
Not even that. The captains. When you have multiple captains meetings, right? I know this in football. You have multiple captains meetings. You discuss coin toss, what way we want to go. In that same meeting, you need to go over the overtime rules because Fred Warner goes out there for the overtime coin toss, and at a minimum, he needs to know what the rules are.
Yeah.
If you're the guy who went out, like Patrick Mahomes. He knew what the rules were. You could have sent Travis Kelce out there. You could have sent Trent McDuffie out there. They knew what the rules were. When you are having your meetings, you got 2 weeks to game plan and prepare for the Super Bowl. If you are not prepared for overtime, that's on you. And frankly, you deserve to lose the game.
That's on Kyle Shanahan, man. Kyle Shanahan has made the Super Bowl 3 times in 3. As a head coach, he's made it 3 times. Or no, he's just made it 3 times. And in each of those appearances, his team has had at least a 10-point lead, and in each of those times, he has lost that 10-point lead.
And Patrick Mahomes has been in all 3 of his Super Bowl championships. He's been down by 10 points or down at the half, something like that. He is literally a cheat code.
What does this say about?
Also, can we discuss that?
Sure.
Dre Greenlaw tore his Achilles running onto the field.
That's where I start to think like the United States government's involved here. That's when I start to think like Joe Biden has a sniper that's just
By the way, that tweet of theirs was hilarious.
It's just
Brandon alt text.
I had to check to be like, is this a parody account? No, this is the president of the United States tweeting a meme.
That's so funny though.
I know.
That relates to people like
that's hip and cool with the kids, yo. I mean, it would be nice if he like was focused on legislation.
Be fair, he's not doing that.
No.
Social media.
He was in bed. 100%. Joe Biden was in bed.
He was sleeping.
He was like he had a glass of hot milk and he was in the pajamas that like Ebenezer Scrooge wore when the ghosts of Christmas passed, and he was going shoo shoo, like that's how Joe Biden sleeps. But
what he wasn't doing was inciting Russia,
exactly.
Which is good.
Now the whole thing here is the main takeaway that I took away from the Super Bowl is that the NHL needs a SpongeBob broadcast more than life itself. That was awesome.
12 out of 10.
Like no notes. Like they nailed it.
Taylor Swift's boyfriend, good at football.
Well, it's just like they see Leonardo DiCaprio, or like no, like when Christian McCaffrey fumbles and Patrick's like firmly grasp it, like just stuff like that. Sandy Cheeks is on the sidelines as the Dora is explaining the rules.
Yeah,
like
Dora's Gene Steratore and also doing a better job.
Like it's Dora is the rules analyst. Like it was they cut to the crowd and there's a bunch of and they basically CGI'd over all the celebrities to be fish. I mean, it was like LeBron James and Finn Diesel, and then there was Clamuel L. Jackson was my favorite. Like just
the only one they left was Taylor Swift because it's Taylor. And
but it was like Megan the Sturgeon. I saw who else was like there was. It was remarkable.
It's so great because you look at it. I know so many people that either watch the game because of the Taylor Swift angle, which that's fantastic. Robert Griffin III's tweet about that was great.
Yeah.
You're getting people to watch the game that never watched before. If you think that's a negative thing, that is your problem.
You're just gatekeeping something.
And then you have fathers tweeting out that they watched the Super Bowl with their kids for the first time because of the SpongeBob broadcast. And I think that's such a great way to make it accessible to the younger generation, because Patrick Starr explaining a fumble SpongeBob comparing like somebody getting blown up to like Mrs. Puff getting angry. When it was like Travis Kelce was angrier than Mrs. Puff in driving school or something like that. Like those are jokes kids are gonna understand.
And they're timeless jokes.
It's so funny, and when they score a touchdown, crazy stuff happens.
And like Plankton was on the field, like just in the middle of the play, like trying to take it over.
Streaker Plankton.
They should have. I always wonder, and it comes up on Twitter all the time. I always wonder what it would have looked like if the Damar Hamlin situation happened during the SpongeBob broadcast. Like how they would have handled that, how they would have animated a fish just like literally dead. And like we can joke about that because he survived, and that's great. But like that would have been crazy. Now, Rachel, I'm very glad that they gave us a warning before the halftime show that this performance might cause sweating, gyration, relationship issues, because I'm going to be honest, like Usher killed that. That was a phenomenal halftime performance. I really, really like that. Maybe I can tell by your face that you might not agree, but I enjoyed it. And you know what? My dad, my 65-year-old father, who only listens to like Zeppelin and the Stones and like Bob Dylan.
We love a Led Zeppelin
exactly, but
song.
That's the only thing he listens to. Like he doesn't, like he does not care about anything else, especially like Usher. After it ends, he turns to me and goes, "That was phenomenal," and I went, "Wow."
Okay, so this is where I'm at with the Usher halftime show. Pre-roller skates, it was dog shit. The mic was off. The volume was down.
Okay, the sound mixing could have been a lot better.
Like it was too busy for me. Like when he did Caught Up, it was too busy. There was too much crap going on. I felt like I did not like it. The moment we got to like You Got It Bad.
Yeah.
And the striptease happened, I was like, yep, I'm in. Yeah. We're good. So basically from Alicia Keys onward, it was great. Because we got Alicia Keys, the striptease, the roller skates, and then like to be able to dance on roller skates, that's hard. And then obviously Ludacris.
When Ludacris came on, I levitated. Like,
so I'm gonna say 7.5 out of 10 because the beginning was just horrendous, and the lack of Justin Bieber after it was teased made me so upset.
To be fair, it wasn't teased by the NFL. It was us. We got into our own heads. I know this a lot being
but he teased with like the purple accents and the purple, like,
you know
because
what?
him and Justin Bieber's Somebody to Love outfit was purple.
Yeah, but like Rachel, I get into this a lot with like superhero movies and stuff where like you get a fan theory going, and then when it doesn't happen, you get pissed.
Well, he was there.
He was there, but like he was just there to enjoy the show. You know, like it was.
Either way, I think the beginning of the halftime show, if it was basically from Alicia Keys onward the whole time, that's a 10 out of 10 halftime show. But it didn't hit the same way that like the Eminem, Snoop,
that was
Dr.
really good.
Dre one.
What's your favorite of the last, like that you can remember?
Oh man. Okay, well, we have to remove Coldplay because they're my favorite band.
Okay.
So like I can't pick the Coldplay one just because like that's what I would pick.
But that's
it's my favorite band.
Funny enough, that's listed in a lot of people's lists as like the worst.
Yeah, see, I wholly disagree with that because the audience participation and stuff like that is that's what brings it. Prince.
Prince was great.
Yeah.
And I was never really a big Prince fan, but I remember watching that being like, whoa. Like, not that I didn't like him, I just didn't know his music.
Prince,
but I was like, whoa.
The whole rapper.
Yeah, like the Snoop Dogg, Eminem,
Dr. Dre
yeah.
one. Yeah, I liked that one. Ooh, I'm trying to think because, man, I didn't like The Weeknd.
No.
I liked Lady Gaga.
That's my favorite. Lady Gaga's was
unbelievable.
She
literally was in the sky.
She jumped off the roof to start. Like she jumped off the roof of the stadium to start.
She was not lip syncing. Like she was set of pipes.
She was going hard. That was amazing.
I think Prince is
really good.
Yeah.
I remember the Bruce Springsteen one being pretty good too.
The Bruce Springsteen one was excellent.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like which ones actually happened like in the past. Like it's like we had that like Travis Scott was bad.
Oh,
Maroon 5 was really bad.
No, Maroon 5 was terrible. No,
Beyonce did one, right?
I don't even remember.
No, she did, and it was good.
Oh yeah, Beyonce and Shakira.
Yeah. Oh no, J-Lo and Shakira did one.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And J-Lo was pissed because she was like, I thought this was going to be my thing. And then you bring Shakira in here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sharing the stage, but that was good.
I liked Usher's, but I would say it's not a top 5 for me.
I gotta say, man, it's like Usher, what a whore for taking his shirt off. What an absolute slut.
That part, though.
Are you kidding me? Like, it was great. And that guy was sweating his balls off. That was like, that's how you know that it's a good performance. That's real R&B right there. Is when like when the performer is just like glistening by the end of it. It was great. I really liked it. I thought it brought everything together. There was no Daddy's Home and there was no DJ Got Us Falling in Love,
which pissed me off.
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
But
you got it bad with a striptease, so I'm not going to complain.
And I can't be the only white person who thought that Jermaine Dupri was CeeLo for a second when he came out.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially because Jermaine Dupri had like little, Little Lord Fauntleroy, like boots and socks on. Like
he looked like CeeLo.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But at the end of the day,
let's talk about
hockey, unfortunately. And the main thing that happened this weekend, obviously, is Morgan Rielly cross-checked someone in the face.
Which you cannot do.
Yes. So
Morgan.
let's just get this lay of the land. The Leafs play an absolute stinker of a game.
Did you watch the game?
Unfortunately, I had it on the background. Let me just say that. It was not.
I did not watch one single momentary second of it.
I had it on in the background because I was like, you know what? Obviously, I gotta keep up on it. I gotta watch it, whatever. But I'm not gonna make this the focal point of my night. I can't.
Right.
My life has not dipped to that bad yet, and so they play, like, obviously Matthews comes out. They play a great game, but the Leafs, they were horrible. The Sens just completely take over in the second period. I don't know what it is,
but like
Leafs are up 2-1. The Sens end the second period by winning 4-2. You know, like, it was bad.
I don't get it. Like, this is the 28th place team in the league. They're last in their division. How do you not show up? Consistently, they do not show up against the Sens.
The Sens have beat them 3 out of the 4 times I think they played this year.
It's
and they
consistently automatic bet for me every time they play.
And this is a bad Sens team.
Whether my model says bet on it or not, because my model actually said bet on the Leafs, and I was like, "Are you crazy? I'm betting on the Sens."
Mm-hmm. And this is a bad Sens team. Like, they're 28th overall, but if you look at their roster, it's also like a bad Sens team. Their defense sucks. Their goaltending sucks. Like, their offensive depth, at least, sucks. And of course, the Leafs, as they are, play down to the level of their opponent and get just shit kicked. And so but they do their thing where they try and storm back, and it's the last minute of the game. They pull their net, they try and tie it, and yet Rielly Greig gets the puck, and trying to be because this is the only good thing that's ever happened to the team this year. Just wires it into an empty net to be like, we beat the Leafs in February
in game 49.
While we're
8th in our own division.
8th in our own division and 28th in the league after this is supposed to be the year that the rebuild was over. No, wait, that was the year before. No, wait, that was the year before, actually. Okay, great. Yay, we finally got our a good young player back from a 41-game suspension because he was too stupid to not to gamble. Awesome. Like, stuff like that. So,
this is the most relevant the Sens have been this season.
No, the most relevant they've been this season is when they were gonna get bought by Ryan Reynolds when the league pulled some.
That's not this. That was last season. That was
last season. Yeah, the most relevant the Sens have been this season is when
Shane Pinto got suspended.
Or
or when they got their draft pick stripped and Pierre Dorion had to get fired and it was just a hot mess. The thing is okay, we want players to show personality. Oh, that goes both sides. So, a couple of things I want to get out of the way.
Let's go.
I did not watch a single solitary second of that game.
You made that clear? Yep.
When I tweeted what I tweeted, I was under the influence enough that I would not have been able to drive. So, that was my state of mind. And so, I didn't exactly make it clear. Which is, I have zero issue with the fact that Morgan Rielly responded. Because I would have had a major issue if nobody responded. Mm-hmm. I have an issue, a pretty big one, with how he responded. That stick needed to be lower, although somebody in the NHL, not at the league, but somebody in the league, sent me an alternative angle of that hit. Rielly goes at him, and when he starts to cross-check, which he should not have done, it's actually at the number on Greig's arm.
But Greig goes like this.
Greig goes to duck, and it hits him in the head. Okay.
But hold on. We can agree, though, that he cross-checked him in the face. It hit him in the face, right? We can agree on that?
The thing about that is, by the time he actually, like, makes contact, his second hand doesn't even look like it's on his stick. It almost looks like he gets him with his stick and glove. And it looks like it hits his shoulder first. But yes, that cross-check is way too high. But we
can agree that it hit him in the face,
yes,
right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So what I wanted to say, before we kind of get into it, is Twitter, after that game, I wish that he would have cross-checked me in the face so I could just not have to deal with any of this. So I tweeted basically just like, listen, you can't, like, the thing about the Department of Player Safety is, like, this is the flaw. They've created a precedent that sucks. So yes, Rielly, in a vacuum, Rielly deserves to get some games because he got a good chunk. I said a good chunk of games because he cross-checked some guy in the face, and you just can't do that. Full stop. I don't care if the guy friggin' like bodied your teammate and did a Fortnite L on his forehead dance over him. You can't go and cross-check him in the face. It's against the rules.
You by the letter of the law.
And I'm like, but also based on precedent, him getting an in-person hearing for that, based on all the stuff that's happened this season, last season, whatever, is fucking insane.
Well, Joel Edmondson literally two-handed Wade Simmons in the face.
Dude, Jacob Trouba did the same thing like a month ago, and he got a $5,000 fine. And so
Ryan Hartman told Cole Perfetti he was going to hit him, and was given a $5,000 fine.
And so someone responded to that tweet.
Stupid.
Someone tried to and obviously I believe they had Rielly in their profile picture, so clearly they're like a Rielly stan. Might have been your burner. I don't know.
No, I have a burner, but it ain't. I don't talk about sports on it.
And was like, cross-check in the face is such a gross dramatization. And I'm like, where do you think the jaw? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is what happened.
Your jaw.
And the person
is attached to your skull.
And the person was like, I responded with literally like a clip of the play, and normally I shouldn't respond, but I just responded like what are you talking about? Like, it hit him in, like, look. And he's like, it actually hit him in the jaw and the back of the helmet, or the side of the helmet. And
That's
I'm like,
the head.
And I'm like, where do you think the jaw is located on the human body? It's located on the fucking face. If you punched me in the jaw, I'd go, ow, my face. It hurts. Like, what are we talking about here? So, like, this is how stupid the discourse was.
It's so dumb.
The guy, he cross-checked the guy in the fucking face. It happened. We can talk about intent. We can talk about the situation, whatever. But the facts of the case here are, Your Honor, is that he cross-checked him in the fucking face. In the face. Right there. Okay? Like, it's not up for debate. Am I taking crazy pills? This is fucking crazy. How are we doing this? How are we debating where the jaw is, if the jaw is part of the face? Like, what do we do? Are you joking? He cross-checked him in the fucking face. Can we just agree on that? Good. Okay. So, based on precedent, Rachel.
It's 0 games.
Well, okay. So, but based on precedent, there's no precedent. Because Jacob Trouba whacks a guy in the face. Like, literally retaliatory in front of the net, turns around, right in the face. Then, obviously, Ryan Hartman, off a draw. Smack right in the face with a stick. You're not allowed to do that.
Bleeding, yeah.
Then again, David Perron does something very similar.
Retaliatory,
yes. 6 games. So there's no, like, what's the sliding scale here?
Yeah.
If like you add a retaliatory element to it, you add 6 games.
But Ryan Hartman's was retaliation.
And you got a $5,000 fine. But that was.
This is honestly incredibly stupid.
Like there is no and this is.
But I think we both agree this should be 5 games. Like.
It should be 3 based on the precedent.
No. Take out precedent.
Oh yeah, then
if we want to remove this from the game, which we absolutely do, it's 5.
You take a guy who's the number 1 defenseman on a team fighting desperately to make the playoffs or keep their playoff position, and you take him out for 5 games right before the trade deadline. Yeah, that will be a deterrent.
Yes,
but at the end, there's no precedent here. Or there's no set precedent. That's the biggest issue, is that the department...
He's going to get more games than Brendan Gallagher, which should absolutely not be the case.
Now, just asking around and stuff, I've gotten information from both sides. The Department of Player Safety side wants to throw the book at him, mainly because of how much of an uproar it caused.
Which is amazing.
Which is also goes to the fact that George Parros is the most online person you know. Like, George Parros is on Twitter all the time. All he wants is for you.
And it also goes to the fact that the notion that George Parros doesn't placate and play favorites is nonsense.
Absolutely does.
Because the Leafs and the Sharks,
I have it here,
who played against his arch rivals, he used to play for
on
the
Ducks
Habs and the Ducks.
Yeah.
The Leafs and the Sharks, we can remove Boston from this because Boston gets away with so much that, like, it's not even funny.
Well, they're also still they still have
and
the
they
third,
still get away with more.
Yes, they have the third
but what I'm
most.
saying is just like the Sharks.
Yeah.
And the other thing about this is when the Leafs drew a suspension, the last time they did that was the first one in 8 seasons.
Yes.
So it's both sides. The Leafs get punished heavier, and they don't get the stuff that goes against them. And you can math it all the way, but when I'm telling, like, I worked in 2 front offices. This is a discussion point of, like, we had a play. I'm not going to say what team I was working for. There was a play where we were all kind of like, that should be a suspension. And my boss at the time was like, it's against Toronto. Like, that's probably not going to be a suspension. People in the league know. Like, it's actually fucked.
So George...
They know that George Parros will not go up this... Like, he hates the Leafs. And you could say he doesn't all he wants, but when league GMs are joking about it, that's an entirely different story.
So George Parros played the majority of his career with the Anaheim Ducks. He only played like a year with the Habs, but that's where But the main thing with the Habs is important is that the Leafs ended his career.
Yeah, Colton Orr literally knocked him out clean cold.
Was it Fraser or was it Fraser McLaren?
One of the two.
One of the two. I was at that game when that happened. Jeez. I saw it. I saw George Parros die. But so I have a sheet in front of me here.
Okay.
And it is sourced by Jeffler. I don't.
To be fair, I have verified that this is correct because I had to do it.
Verified via Rachel's data, I'll say. So George Parros played the majority of his career with the Anaheim Ducks. And in front of me, I have a sheet that says how many total games a team has been suspended under George Parros' rule, how many times they have, how many different times, like different suspensions there have been, and how many in-person hearings there's been. The Anaheim Ducks have had the second least supplemental discipline of any team. The only team that's less than them is the Carolina Hurricanes. The only team
who don't do anything.
Literally all the Hurricanes players are like Corsi merchants who have never laid a body check except for Michael Bunting. And so they've had 2 total games suspended. And that was only 1 suspension. It was a 2-game suspension. I believe it was probably for Andrew Cogliano.
It was.
Yes. The Leafs, on the other hand.
No, go to the Sharks because that's Anaheim.
Well, the Sharks have 16 games.
Okay.
They have the third highest amount of suspensions with 9. Okay. Although they do have 0 in-person hearings. So it's all just being ticky-tacky. Now.
Okay, so team he played for, second least. Arch rival of team he played for, third most. Cool. Now let's move to the next one.
The only reason that the Washington Capitals are number 1 in total games is because of Tom Wilson's 20-game suspension.
Right. If you remove Tom Wilson's 20-gamer.
You remove that, they're at 23, and they are like...
7th,
yes.
Yeah.
The Toronto Maple Leafs have had over 31 games, and I say over 31 because...
We don't know what the Riley suspension is.
Well, and also because Nazem Kadri was suspended for the remainder of a playoff series.
Yeah.
So, it could have been less, it could have been more, whatever. They lead the league in the amount of suspensions that have been. They have 10. Like every other, the closest teams have 9. They've been suspended by George Parros 10 separate times, and they also have the highest amount of in-person hearings with 3. Their suspensions go 3 games, 2 games, 5 games, 2 games, 6 games, 2 games, 1 game, 3 games, 6 plus with Kadri. And it will be more now and be substantially more with Morgan Rielly.
You know what drives me nuts, though, is should Kadri have been suspended? Yes, absolutely, unequivocally. But if you're going to suspend Kadri for 6, then Evander Kane should have gotten the same thing for what he did.
Yeah, or Mark Scheifele should have got the same thing that he did, or Brad Marchand in any of the playoff series.
Yeah, what Mark Scheifele did to Jake Evans, we can all agree and it caused an injury, which in player safety's eyes makes it worse. So by that extent, Morgan Rielly shouldn't be getting more than Mark Scheifele.
Absolutely not. Well, that was also a playoff game too, so those are worth double.
Yeah, and he was injured.
Well, Ridley Greig is back at practice. He's having fun. He's back at practice today. Like, he's skating in full. Like,
he wasn't even bleeding.
No, he just turtled, went down.
This is
like
ridiculous.
I know we're from Toronto, and
Yeah, but I'll be the first person to say he deserves 5+.
I've covered the Leafs for the last 3 years.
But you also can't not respond. You got to do something.
But we have the data in front of us that shows that this current ituration of the Department of Player Safety throws the book at Toronto in an unprecedented amount of ways, like to an unprecedented degree.
I'm not even like
they do not handle any other team in the league the way that they handle Toronto. They
so this
do
whole
not.
Conspiracy that the league is out to help Toronto, like
it's the
there's
opposite.
So many data points. That
it is
prove
literally
that
the
factually
opposite.
Incorrect.
I want you to look me in the eyes, Sens fans, Montreal Canadiens fans, Canucks fans, Oilers fans, whatever.
The Oilers fans don't have a leg to stand on. They were granted like 8 first overall.
Exactly.
Shut up.
First of all, you would not last a single day with your team getting the coverage that the Toronto Maple Leafs do.
Well, the Habs get the same coverage.
Not on a national level.
They get French, so yes.
They get French locally. They do not get the same coverage on a national level.
And certainly not in the U.S.
You don't have, you don't have Elliot Friedman or, you don't have 32 Thoughts
Elliot
talking.
Friedman fucking tagged the Department of Player Safety for the first time ever.
Come on. Snitch tagging. But the Canucks fans I see all the time going, oh, Leafs net. Oh, our games have to be, at 4 so we can blah, blah. You would crumble in a second if you have the same amount. Sens fans? With all the shit that your team has done this year? If imagine,
there would be an investigation from a private investigator. Somebody would have hired a private investigator to figure out what Pinto did.
Imagine, for example, Matthew Nyes holds out through the entire offseason, holds out into the regular season. Your GM gets fired because of a draft pick that got stripped, and then he gets suspended 41 games because his friends were using his gambling account to place bets for him. Do you have any idea what the media coverage would have been like for that?
Oh my God. We
would still be talking about it today. And meanwhile, no one gives a shit about Shane Pinto right now. No one is listening. No one is talking about him. No one is really cared when he came back. Like there would have been like a graphics card for when Matthew Nyes makes his return from gambling suspension. I hate to put that evil on Matthew Nyes because I've just
but they're like relatively the same age.
Yeah. So you guys would crumble any of the shit that your team has done this year, whether it's
Could you imagine the Coyotes got the same coverage as the Leafs?
Oh, they would.
We would have the Toronto City Councilor would be on Hockey Night in Canada on a bi-weekly basis.
It's just, and so but we have it. We have proof here, and we're about to get more tomorrow. We're recording this on Monday. Rielly's suspension will likely come down Tuesday night. We're going to get proof tomorrow.
You know what's going to be really funny though?
What?
So I've heard it from more than a few people that he's been playing really banged up.
Yeah.
And going to All-Star didn't help because he didn't really get his bye week.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm the Leafs, I know he's getting suspended. He leaves from New York on Tuesday to the Bahamas.
Yeah, why not?
Take the charter.
To the Bahamas.
You and Tessa.
Sit in a hypobaric chamber for 5 days.
Go on vacation and literally relax because you're probably getting 10 days off. So go and take your break, recuperate, do treatment, whatever you need to do. In a really screwed up way, I think this actually might help him long term.
Yeah, it will help him long term. It will not help the Leafs.
No.
Because I'm not sure if you've seen their defensive pairings without him.
It's not ideal.
It's, I believe it's Brody Liljegren, McCabe Benoit, and then Gio and one of Lagesson or Timmins.
Lagesson, please.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Like that's not so. But also, we have to point out that look, I love showing personality. I love showing pizzazz, saltiness. Slamming the I'm a big believer in take out the taunting penalty in the NFL. Let them taunt as much as you want. And look, I'm sure Ridley Greig wiring a clapper into an empty net in a February game while being 28th overall in the league. I'm sure that meant a lot to the fan base. That's great.
But you know what the reaction was in the room, Mike?
Because
I've spoken to people.
Wasn't very positive.
No.
Yeah.
The text message I received from somebody within the Sens organization, like a source, said that'll be the last time he does that. Because when Claude Giroux does 3 separate interviews and is asked what he thought, and he doesn't defend him, let me tell you what that means behind the scenes. It means they went up to him, grabbed him, and said, if you ever do that again, you are on your own. We are not defending you.
The thing is, though...
Because you could even see when Rielly went over and cross-checked him. Thomas Chabot he did not get in there right away. Even the Sens were kind of like, what are you doing? You can only imagine, I kind of wish DJ Smith was still on the bench because I would have loved to have seen what DJ would have said because DJ does not like that kind of stuff.
Well, if DJ Smith was still on the bench, the Leafs probably would have won that game. So we wouldn't have been in that situation. But, I get, you can do whatever you want. I'm all for the bat flips. I'm all for that, whatever. But, when you do something like that, you then are entering into a societal agreement that, talk shit, get hit kind of thing.
Well, Bautista did it. First of all, that's not even comparing apples to oranges. That's like apples to pasta because one is in a playoff game in the most memorable inning of baseball in the last decade, and there was all manner of crap. Bautista does his bat flip in a playoff game, not in game 49 of a season you're going to miss the playoffs. And if you recall, Mike, the very next year, he got socked rounding second base. So he paid consequences, and that was a playoff game.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry, Ridley Greig, if you're going to do that, expect consequences.
Because he immediately turtled. That's the thing. It's such a bitch
move.
It's such a bitch move. And
you drop your gloves if you do that immediately because you know someone's coming.
Yeah,
it's a bitch move.
It's basically like if you clap an empty netter, and you turn around with your gloves dropped, waiting to take your retribution.
It's Nick Cousins crap.
Instead, he wired it in, and what? Did he think the Leafs just weren't going to do anything?
Yeah, he acted like he was shocked.
He was like,
I
what?
have no sympathy for that.
No.
Now, obviously, we
should not have cross-checked him in the face.
No, but you got to respond. You can go and absolutely lay him out. Mm-hmm. You can body check him right into the boards. Whatever. You're probably not getting a suspension for that.
Yeah, body check him. Jump him.
Grab him. Throw him to the ice.
But
you don't have to Eric Goodbranson him, but you can grab him and toss him down. There are other ways you can go about it. But
you should have done. You know that
you
clip?
Can't do nothing.
Yeah, no. Well, no. If you did nothing, then all we would be talking about is how the Leafs are soft and they don't stand up for each other and blah blah blah. We would be back in the same.
That would be the front page of the goddamn newspaper.
Exactly. What Rielly should have done is recreated that clip of the defendant jumping over the desk to tackle the judge after she sentences him. That's what he should have jumped him. And I'm not advocating violence, but you should have jumped him.
You can't do nothing. Sorry.
But to go up, I will say, to go up and cross-check a guy in the face after that is also a bitch move. Sorry, no offense.
You can't do that.
No offense, Morgan, but that was. It just seems like everyone handled the situation poorly. And
what would have happened? So here's my thing. Sens fans are all up in arms about Rielly cross, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Fine. If Ridley Greig misses wide, and that puck Karens all the way around, because that is what happens. That's called geometry. Yeah. Right? And the Leafs score a la Patrick Steffen.
Even if he just missed.
Sens fans would be the ones being like, I want to cross-check that guy in the head.
Yeah. Even if he doesn't go down and score. Even if he just goes to wind up for the empty net and just misses, hits the crossbar, does whatever, you would have had to find yourself a new co-host because I would have died laughing. I would have fallen on my ass and died laughing.
Reaction, people would have been like, look at this hot dog, whatever. I'm picturing is what Don Cherry would have said. And it's true, though. If he misses trying to show off, think about the conversations that get had behind this. So it's one of those things where I'm kind of
if he missed trying to show off, he would have gotten sent down. He's like,
oh, you're in the press box the next time. I actually am. What happens if somebody does something? Because Patrick Steffen wasn't trying to show off. He was just being
he just blew it. He hit a divot. Just blew it. Yeah.
But if you do what Ridley Greig did and you miss, someone said to me, they're like, you're in the press box the next game. I don't care how good you are. You need to learn a lesson.
Absolutely. Now, I do know that, excuse me, I do know that from talking around with people that the Department of Player Safety is like, they want to throw the book at Rielly.
So there's going to be an appeal.
But I do know that the Leafs are going into that meeting like fucking Eminem before the last rap battle in 8 Mile. Like they have been preparing all weekend. Yeah. They are fucking ready. Like they're going, it's going to be, I would love, excuse me, I would love just to get a camera in there, because that is going to be like that's going to be a fight basically. Like there might be a cross check in that meeting. They are ready.
I might have to ask some people who are going to attend that meeting how it went, because like
this is going to be one of the most like this.
Well, think about it.
This and when the Rangers met like with DPOS and then put out that statement after they didn't really give Tom Wilson anything for just murdering like 3 different players. But like the Leafs are like they're like, this is their stake in the ground. This is their like, you know, like Spartans, like we move from here.
The Leafs could have not actually opted to attend in person. They could have done it over Zoom, or they could have gone to the NHL offices in Toronto, and it would have just been like that way, right?
The NHL offices are in their arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said no. Brad Treliving, Morgan Rielly's agent, and a couple other people that are going to remain unnamed.
Yeah.
We are flying to New York to prove a point.
Yeah, this is going to be quite the like I said, I
would
wish
not be
there was cameras in there.
surprised, because they know he's getting a big suspension. I would not be surprised if there are some things that get said in that meeting where they basically tell George, like, you suck at what you do, and here's the proof, and just slide it like turn the laptop around. Because when we have hearings as somebody who does video, when we have hearings, I had to cut video and like other stuff, because you can go in and basically say like, it's similar to this, it's similar to this, it's similar to this. If I'm Toronto, I'm going in there with like, yes, they're going to bring David Perron, but like I'm bringing Jacob Trouba, Tom Wilson. Like,
no, I'm bringing plays we don't even remember. Like if you think that Sam Kim and Jordan Bean were watching the Super Bowl last night,
are you kidding? They were not. Department that does this stuff. Never mind Sam Kim and Jordan Bean.
They were not. They were cutting clips of every single cross check to the face that George Parros has missed or not penalized. I guarantee you they will come in there with like 15 different MPEG files to be like, check it out. You sucked here. You fucked up here. You fucked up here. You fucked up here. You fucked up here. I dare you to give him 5 games.
I honestly, you know what I kind of hope for? I do think it needs to be like a 5-game suspension, but then I hope that we get a tweet from Leafs PR of like just a video montage of other cross checks.
That'd be great. Or just like do something, because
you need to prove a point, because if the Rangers said something, if the Leafs say something, all you need is the Bruins to say something.
I would love to see, I know Trouba just got suspended for what was like 3 games or something, or 4. Something like that.
Yeah.
But that aside, I would love to see, at least maybe in like the 24 months since they put out that statement after Tom Wilson, how much supplemental discipline they actually got.
Almost none.
And there were, and keep in mind, Trouba has not, like, this is not a recent development. Like, he has been braining guys left and right, and they've only gotten fines, you know. So I can definitely see that.
I could see a Steve Keogh UFC style press release coming.
It's going to be pretty nuts.
I do wonder if Brendan Shanahan is going to be there.
I would.
He's the former head of Department of Player Safety. I would show up and be like, "Okay, let's see what you got."
I would bet my life on the fact that Brendan Shanahan will be in that meeting. And A, that's a good bet to make because he's going to be there. But also B, if he doesn't, I get to die, and that would be great too.
Okay, that would not.
But like this is going to be a sock'em, rock'em sock'em. Like this is going. I know, like from both sides, they're ready for a fight, and I know that we might as well put a moratorium on George Parros talk until like after this. But I just want to say, I'm so fucking sick of this guy. I'm so sick.
No, he objectively sucks at his job.
I'm so sick of this of this league being run by
the violent gentleman.
But I'm so sick of this league having basically no precedence, no apparatus for discipline. Just a guy who desperately wants you to like him, and so he kind of just goes based off of vibes. There's no precedent involved in anything. There's no like real due process. We know that any appeal is just going to get upheld by the commissioners because he's going to protect his boy. There's no, it's a kangaroo court. It really is. And I'm so sick of this guy actively aiding in ruining this game.
I would rather have somebody like Paul Correa running Department of Player Safety and everyone getting like 10 game suspensions. Like, I'm in favor of lengthy suspensions.
And we praised him at the start of the year for throwing the book at Rasmus Anderson. And there was someone,
which was 4 games,
and there was Charlie Coyle. He gave them both 4 games. Both guys appealed. McAvoy, sorry.
Yeah.
He gave them both 4 games, and those were upheld. And then everything he's done after that has made 0 sense.
Yeah.
Brendan Gallagher started across the ice, locked it. You can see it locked in on a guy.
Adam Pelech, yes.
Skated over with his arm up the entire way. Jumped and clipped a guy in the head at full speed, and he didn't even get an in-person hearing. And that was during the middle, at full speed. Rielly was not skating as hard as he was, or hard as he possibly could. He was like kind of looping over after a goal was scored. And yeah, he gave him a cross check to the face, which you can't do. And the guy turtled. There was no injury whatsoever. Pelech had a concussion. He was out for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if he's back yet. So this is like, one got 5 games with no in-person hearing. The other, we'll have to see. Or, like we said many times, the million different swings to the freaking head that many different players have made in many different avenues of the game, in different situations of the game, that have basically gotten fines, and there was one that got the book thrown at them.
Yeah. Makes
no sense.
It's on. I've really had it.
I'm sick of this guy. He sucks. He sucks at his job. He is the biggest little whiny piss baby there possibly is, because all he does is hope that people like him and gets really upset when they don't, and then that impacts his work. Like, the league bends over backwards to friggin' protect this guy. I asked Gary Bettman to his face at the Cup final last year, do you think it's a good idea, basically, that the guy who's in charge of league safety made his bones as an enforcer, and then also B started and profited off of a company called The Violent Gentleman, whose nickname was "Make Hockey Violent Again." Like, he sold those hats. Make hockey violent again. That's the guy who's in charge. That's the guy who players. So
then he should like this.
That's the guy who players put their lives in their hands basically every time they step on the ice, because he is sort of he is the deterrent. And that's the guy who's espousing make hockey violent again. Do you think the guys whose heads are ringing after concussions want hockey to be violent again? You think that Adam Pelech, after he got fucking clotheslined at like 100 miles an hour by Brendan Gallagher's elbow for no reason other than to hurt him in a meaningless game that they were down, do you think he wants hockey to be violent again? You suck at your job, George. You are an unbelievable, unfathomably incompetent at your position. You're an unfathomably incompetent employee. You would do hockey a favor if you stepped down, if you just left the game altogether, never showed your face or your stupid fucking mustache ever again. I'm sick and tired of talking about you. I'm sick and tired of talking about how much of a fucking piss baby you are. I'm sick of it. Leave the game. Let actual professionals, and let people who are good and care and don't whine about everything actually protect the players in this game. You suck. Leave. Thank you. The PWHL made a trade. Let's talk about that.
I was like, fuck. I wonder how Mike is going to shoehorn his way into the PWHL report, because we actually got some history over the weekend. Mm-hmm. Not that I think it should have been done during the Super Bowl. That probably would have been the worst time. But TSN on the broadcast talked about how the PWHL salary cap works is it gets averaged out. So every team has the same amount of money, which means if you're going to make a trade, it has to be dollar for dollar, which is impossible to do. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. So the PWHL said that basically we're going to allow trades above the salary cap as long as it's reasonable, because they want to encourage teams to make moves. So if you're going to accrue an extra like $50,000 on the cap, that's probably not going to cut it. Yeah. But a few $1,000, it's going to be fine. So we got the first ever PWHL trade on the weekend.
Huge. And it was a bit of a blockbuster, really.
Oh, it was a huge, yeah. Between Boston and Minnesota.
Boston gets Susanna Tupani and Abby Cook.
Yep.
and Minnesota gets Sophie Jacques,
who was the 10th overall pick in the draft. I actually like this trade a lot. I think it could be a win-win for both teams. But the thing for Minnesota is Minnesota's a good team. They get almost no offense from the back end.
Yeah.
Right? They're really deep. Like they have.
Well, Abby Cook, she has 1 goal and 0 assists in 9 games, and she's shooting 25%. So that's as stay at home as it gets.
Yeah. So then you have a situation where Minnesota has Taylor Heiss and Kendall Coyne-Schofield. And now they have Sophie Jacques, and those are the 2 past winners of the Patty Kazmaier Award. And that's the best women's college hockey player for anyone who doesn't know. And Minnesota has like this D-core, and they're all very stay-at-home. They don't get anything from the back end. Yeah, they have defensemen that can move the puck, but you need something from the back end if you're going to contend. And so they give up 2 pieces. They get 1 back, and I think she's really going to help. She's going to help on their power play. She's going to help with the puck moving. I really like this deal. And then Boston gets 2 players that are going to help their depth. Like Tupani up front should be a middle 6 player for them, and good on puck retrievals. She can chip in with offense, and so I think it's kind of one of those things where each team is getting something that they needed. So I like it. First ever PWHL trade.
So let's talk about how trades work, because it's interesting. Like in the NHL, you get traded, and basically like the second you get traded, you get a go bag, you hop on a plane, and you're in that city like by that night or the next morning, and you can basically be playing in the game that same day. It's different in the PWHL, where you have 48 hours to report to your new team, and you have 2 consecutive days off to like organize everything.
Yeah, so you have 48 hours to get to your new team, you do your physical, and then after you do that, then you get 2 consecutive days off. So it's not like you got to play in that like game the night of. Now, it's different because they don't play like on an NHL schedule, right? So there's not like as many games during the week and all that kind of stuff. So you can actually have 2 days off. In the NHL, like I remember when like we traded for Travis Dermott in Vancouver, right? We traded for him from Toronto, and we were like, how quickly can we get him here? Right? And like obviously I know Travis's girlfriend, so like, or wife now. We were going back and forth, but like our team services guy was like, how quickly can we get him here? I'm gonna put him on this flight. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Whatever the case may be. And so it's always like this scramble because you want the guy in the lineup right away. I really like what the PWHL does. Now, I think as they start playing a more consistent schedule, that's probably not going to be able to happen. Yeah. You're probably going to have to report to your team within 24 hours, and then you get 1 day off to kind of deal with whatever. But I do like that the PWHL has considered the well-being of traded players.
Great.
Right? Being traded, like you're basically uprooting your life.
Well, you're not getting paid like millions
of dollars.
Like there's actual stuff, like you have to figure out your lease. You have to figure out your internet. You have to figure out your, I don't know, like your car, where your car goes. And you don't have people that do that for you.
Right. Whereas
you have to do that yourself.
The NHL, like they have like each team has like a car shipping service.
Like I think about everything I'd have to deal with if, like a job was just like, hey, we got to move you. You're going to move to Denver tomorrow. I'd be like, oh, well, I have to figure out how to get out of my lease. Number 1. And like get my.
Well, your landlord sucks.
Yeah, it's true. But like get my security.
I'd be like.
Maybe get my security deposit back. I got to figure out how, I got to figure out how to get my TV, packed up and shipped to this new place. I got to figure out how to, how to change over my credit cards. I got to figure out, like stuff like that. Like I got to figure out,
various manners of things and
different subscription services I have. I'd be like, oh, does my Netflix subscription, does it transfer into the States?
Yes.
Or stuff like that. Like I'd have to figure those things out.
Cancel your hydro and all that.
Well, my utilities are included, which is nice.
Oh wow! Okay, lucky you.
I mean, I live in an absolute hovel, but still, that's nice at least.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it and I think it's a really nice, that's great. I also like that the PWHL has said we don't need a dollar in, dollar out. We want to encourage trades, and now we get a blockbuster. I mean, great stuff. I love that. And so when you get that extra time to get there, you get set up. I'm sure you could go to the rink if you want, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, the league has created avenues for trades to happen, and I really like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, and you have to be cap compliant for next season, so you have to figure it out. But what I would like is, what if the NHL said, okay, in the 2 weeks leading up to the trade deadline, or the week before the trade deadline all the way through to the playoffs where the cap doesn't matter. You can, like, if you can be 5% over the cap, as long as it's not because you're, like, signing players kind of thing. Like, it has to be because on acquired players, you can be over the cap.
You know what's just a lot simpler? It's just a luxury tax. Like, that just accomplishes the exact same thing, and we don't have to explain. You don't have to have a physics degree to friggin' explain it. Like,
exactly.
I don't want to complain too much about the NHL. I just spent half an hour ranting over George Parros, but, like, it just makes sense. But I like what they're doing. Obviously, like, look, there's a reason why anything I would write about trade rumors or potential trades or then analysis of a trade would do better than normal game stories or profiles on people. Like, the people love the transactions. Fans love the transactions. That is the bread and butter. That's why the NBA is so interesting. That's why the NFL is so every team or every sports league is run on transactions, is run on player movement.
Well, yeah, now the big conversation is, like, Patrick Mahomes wants to restructure his contract to get less money. I feel like the NHL should have something like that, where obviously they have guaranteed contracts.
You can restructure contracts.
But if a player wants to like John Tavares, for example, it comes to mind. He wants to restructure his contract for next season so that the Leafs can afford other things. Like, you should be allowed to do that.
Absolutely.
The team shouldn't be able to elect for restructuring, but the player should.
Well, they just turn but then again, that really helps a team like the Leafs, who can just turn, like 50% of John Tavares' salary into a signing bonus, and then he's only making 4.5 for the rest of the year, or 6 or something. Like, Columbus can't do that. Arizona can't do that.
No, but just contract restructuring.
It would be great.
Speaking.
There should be parameters over. You can't be like,
I'm
going to do anything. Like Austin Matthews, I'm going to convert 99% of his cap hit to a signing bonus, and then Austin Matthews ends up making
but that still counts against the cap hit.
$3.
I'm talking like Tavares is mainly signing bonus, so he would actually have to take. Let's say he wanted to convert down to like $5 million bucks. Well, that signing bonus that you get now is that. Like, you can't. Signing bonus money still counts on the cap.
Yeah.
So you would actually be taking less money. Like, he would have to restructure so that his signing bonus was $4 million instead of 10.
7 or 10 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I feel like that would be cool. Like, teams
cool.
can't elect for it, but players can.
Yeah.
Right? And teams can talk to their players about doing that. And I'm sure, depending on how badly you want to win, like, then you could do that. And then it kind of puts more pressure on. Then you can ask questions of players. Like, you have the option to restructure your deal. And the league has said you have the option to. Why aren't you? Right? If you want to win, you can't say I will do anything.
The union, there's no fucking way.
Oh, I know.
The players association.
But it would be cool.
Marty Walsh wakes up in a cold sweat having to deal with complaints from players who are asked by media why they're not taking less money than they signed for. Like, that is his nightmare. So I get it. But what I would love, like, dude, a luxury tax would just make this is great. Being able to say the PWHL is here and they made a blockbuster trade that makes them that like is another watershed big moment in the league of being like, this is real. Like, this is happening. And I would love for more to happen. And I would love for the NHL to make it so that there are more trades that can happen, because that's what the PWHL has done. They're like, you don't have to be dollar for dollar until next season.
Love it.
All right. Well, this has been the show. Sorry for all that Super Bowl talk if you're not a football fan, but it's not like we're going to talk about football anymore from here on out. That was the last game. So congratulations. But make sure to subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to any podcatcher. That's where we are. Obviously follow the TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, donate to Jumpstart. It's our charity of choice. It helps economically disadvantaged children. Play team sports, which is extremely important to both Rachel and I in terms of a cause. And yeah, we're going to have some Mike's Meals for One. We're going to have Twitch streams coming back this week. Everything's going to be great. In terms of podcasts, we will see you on Thursday.